My boss cut me off and ended up looking at furry offbrand. Early in my career I was working on a government project and assigned to validate contact information for people in the area, phone numbers, emails, addresses, stuff like that. I'm still shocked people used such ridiculous emails on government forms. Emails similar to Big Titty Master 69 at Gmail or Xxmokablins 420xxx at Hotmail were very common. Neither example are actual emails I dealt with, just reminiscent of them. One day I went to my chat boss to ask about one email. All I got out was him having an issue confirming. And he cut me off saying just send it to him and he'll do it himself. What he didn't let me get out was that the email was ADMIN at very clearly a off-brand site and we had constant internet monitoring, so I couldn't exactly verify it. Also, I really didn't want to. It literally had furry and SM in the site name. So, doing as I was told, I sent him the email. Thanks to our speepty walls my coworkers and I were treated to a loud oh my god in the ensuing phone calls from it and hours asking him to explain himself. Later that day, his eventual response just said verified. Now I'ma get myself one of those email addresses for the sole purpose of using it when dealing with my government. Congratulations on your new email address, Blaster 42069XX. I'll take it. Already taken. Good thing I have my own domains. I worked for a commercial window company and a new to the market supplier sent their sales rep had no idea what he was selling to impress us with their stuff. Salesman does his song and dance and tells us we can go online and download whatever product info we need. Don't remember him telling us a website address in his speech. So the VP, and I assume companioname.com will bring up the website at the VP's did not. It brought up a Japanese hentai porn site. Plot twist. They're selling off-brand peep. Sometimes you gotta hit him with that old razzle dazzle to get that sale. When my hub was 17, he worked in it for a small company. He was reviewing something on a guy's computer when he opened a porn image of the guy and another guy at the company. He reported it to ours and their mildly incompetent ours decided someone needed to catalog all the images. And, of course, to limit the damage, no one else should be exposed. So they set a 17-year-old kid to view all the porn images and write down their content. These were not attractive people, so even if my hub were bisexual, he would not have enjoyed the task. And he was a minor. Only his easygoing approach to work aka yes sir approach saved them from a number of lawsuits over his years there. Wow. That's just wow. When I first started in computers back in the 90s, the ability to track web traffic to a user was a fairly new invention and wasn't well known at the company I worked at. Every day one of my tasks was to look through the logs and send my manager, who then forwarded it to ours, if I saw more than 5 violations from a user in a single day. If you tried to go to a blocked site you got an Instagram on your Netscape window telling you to get back to work. People are into some nasty stuff. One of the guys was a straight-laced dude who was fairly religious. I sadly found out his fetish is golden showers. He tried to go to 20 different pee party sites before giving up. WTF dude. At work. Pretty sure why he kept his door closed all the time. I never looked at him the same way ever again. The golden rule is, if you're using company property then assume everything you do is seen by the company. If you're on your personal phone, but using company Wi-Fi then assume they can see it. If you're on a company computer using your own Wi-Fi then assume they can see it. Around 2000 I worked for a large furniture manufacturer that was privately held. We constantly had space issues with home drive usage, no quotas in effect. So built and ran a command script that searched for media MP3, JPG/GIF, MOV, AVI, MPEG, etc. The idea was that we'd send a copy of the acceptable use policy to those that had personal media on the shared drive, give them 2 weeks to delete it, then delete the data. If porn was found, the file listing was printed off and forwarded to my supervisor, who took it 2 hours. I do my search and discover that one of the VPs had a ton of porn on his home drive. I chuckle to myself and print the file listing. The names themselves were obvious, and hand it to my supervisor. Her jaw drops. Turns out, VP was a relative of the family with a controlling stake. Consequently, nothing happened to him or anyone else that had saved porn on their home. It was all deleted. About the same time the internet became a thing, I worked for a health insurance company. My friend and I were early adopters and rather computer savvy, but not exactly network engineers. Still, we found it easy to view every owner's personal drive shares. It amazed us that despite being told work only and not private, people stored all sorts of personal info. The funniest thing we found was a director who stored letters to and from her boyfriend. In one such letter she wrote, "In your last letter you said in every relationship, one of them is the dog. Who's the dog? Am I the dog?" From that point forward, whenever talking to each other, when her name came up, we would add a quick, casual woo off as if it was her last name. Back in the day, when the internet was just starting up, our company finally got reliable email. And because our ad team was new and our managers were clueless, they downloaded and applied an off-the-shelf internet porn filter. I was one of the first people it hit when one of my emails was flagged for bad language. I got a note from it that said that they would be forwarding my email 2 hours. An hour later we were all looking at the email and scratching our heads. There was nothing inappropriate in my email that I could see. The it person queried the filter and sold that the word that was problematic was Spears. As in Britney Spears, who was fairly popular at the time. I had merely used an analogy of two departments chucking spears at each other. The hour woman sighed and rolled her eyes. It went back to the drawing board. And I went back to my desk. At one point, the AOL message boards disallowed the use of the word breast, and so the message board for a breast cancer support group had to call it Hooter Cancer. This is gold. Id manager told me this story. A certain no longer employed dispatcher at my trucking company was well known for looking at porn on the dispatch computer. His back was to the office door, and he was frequently caught. Idiot boy saw something he liked on his 11 to 7 am shift and decided to print out a copy. Print. Nothing, and the copier next to him. Print, print, print. Nothing. He did fat about 25 times before giving up and going home at the end of his shift. Yes, you know where this was going. It guy gets a call from the owner's older sister 70s. There's a stack on her printer when she came to work. I interrupted him. Don't tell me. She was standing on a chair like Cheer was a rat and you were expected to pick it up with ice tongs like it was radioactive? Precisely. Took him about a minute to trace IP address back to said idiot boy. His back was to the office door and he was frequently caught. I mean, not trying to help people like this, but if you are prone to sexual addiction, how lazy do you have to be to not turn your desk around? Ah, yes, we have marveled at this often. He was not our brightest bulb. One would think all this can be yours with a cheap home computer and an internet connection. But no. In his meager defense, actually he couldn't move the desk because he had to face a window to interact with drivers getting dispatched. I worked for a very large bank with an email filter. If it caught a banned word in a chat or email, it would highlight the word and forward the alert to your boss, their boss usually a VP, and ours. Each instance of a banned word would generate an email. A coworker had a habit of emailing her sister using the company email, which was dumb, but allowed at the time. They apparently talked food and exchanged recipes. Until one recipe she sent contained chicken. Specifically chicken breast. Referenced all over the page. That one email caused her chain of command and hours to get spammed with alert emails. It caused an uncomfortable but hilarious meeting for her the next day, and the department had a good laugh about it. Similarly, there was an AOL message board to support women with Hooter cancer because of the same word being disallowed. Your lady should have known to do a global replace so that her sister could properly prepare her chicken hooters. I was playing an online game with a filter and the subject of birds came up. Couldn't talk about cockatiels, peacocks, or cockatoos. Couldn't talk about cockatiels, peacocks, or cockatoos. I think you mean dung-gachiels, peace lungs. and precatus. Interesting thing about that is that cock originally referred to a rooster. The penis meaning came much later. And people's reluctance to say cock, because of its reference to penis, is why rooster is used so much today. In 6th grade 1999/2000 my class was assigned to do a class project researching various biblical prophets. My middle school had some site blockers, but this was still relative early days of the internet. Our teacher decided to spend the first part of class showing us some resources we could use, although unfortunately for him, he hadn't checked the websites out before showing them. Turns out was a porn site, and being the bumbling idiot that he was, once he began projecting porn onto the wall for my whole class. If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe, and check out these 2 videos. Voice of Reddit posts videos every day. If you want a Reddit post to be put in one of these videos, just ask in the comments with the hashtag I put in the description. Have a great day. Voice of Reddit, out.